Good afternoon to all of you. Yes. Welcome all this to this panel session. Now, before I start on the topic Cyber for All, I would like to show you a small clip which I think will set the stage. So dear students, let's start a panel discussion. We all know that today technology and information have become the new mantras of this digital transformation. Business is being transacted at a lightning speed and billions of dollars are being transferred from one part of the global to the other part of the country. And this, transition from industrial to information era has given a new kind of threats to both national as well as human security. We all know that world is divided into developed and developing countries. With large scale of automation and rapid penetration of IT, developing countries people are enjoying a different kind of life. But they are also making them more vulnerable. On the other hand, rising aspiration and low cost of ICT at developing nations have given a different kind of threats. Thanks to our Prime Minister, projects like Digital India and Smart City, this will have a direct impact on governance, transparency and accountability. But a cyber insecure Digital India, a cyber insecure Smart City can paralyze whole country with a single click. Hence, it is very important to implement this cyber security as a design parameter. We are today very lucky that many experts are in front of all of you on the dais, and they are going to give their opinion on this subject. I will start from Colonel Verma. Colonel Verma, you have served in the Indian Army for 22 years, handled cyber security at a national level. You have seen how serious are the security threats. A direct question from you: how much we are safe? Are we really prepared for the cyber warfare?
So I don't think that anybody can be safe completely. There is no 100% security in the physical form or on the online world. We need to keep improving. A lot is being done, but for cyberspace, I feel a lot needs to be done, not only within the armed forces, but this is not a war which armed forces can fight alone. The attack is not just going to be on the military or the armed forces, whether it's Air Force or Navy. We will have it on the critical infrastructure which is being owned by the country. And I want to just give an example which I say that if your Bhagranangal Dam gets compromised, and if you're able to open up all the gates, you will have the entire city of Delhi underwater by about 10 feet. So if this is the kind of ravage scenarios that your adversary can bring on you, and this coupled with a standard attack on your western border or the eastern border, now you tell me, what are you going to do? You can be put into disarray very easily, and cyber could become a weapon to attack you whichever way you want it. So that's the real threat that we are living under, and hence a lot needs to be done to ensure that this doesn't happen.
Thank you. So, Himanshu, my next question, you know cyber security is a very important need of time for every domain, every industry, whether it is a private, government or academics, everyone. However, IT-enabled industries are totally dependent on it. Any attack on IT industry is a direct business and reputational loss. You being representing an IT company, IBM, what is your perspective about cyber security threat and challenges specific to IT domain?
So, thanks, Sisori, for that question. One slight correction here. IT is transcending the traditional business boundaries now that we know. Our biggest video company is not a media house anymore, it's Facebook. Your transport company is Uber without owning a car. So I would like to take it in that context. So though I work for an IT company, but in future, the traditional business models will, that boundary between IT in a box and business on the other side will collapse. And we are seeing that already happening. Now, coming specifically to IT, how we see cybersecurity threats emerging and what is the implication. So we talked about the futuristic scenario, IoTs of things, and that being vulnerable. That still remains to be seen as we reach that point. But what is alarming here is the fact that bad guys are not really ahead of good guys. It's a misconception. There are a lot of good guys doing a lot of work trying to prevent everything, and statistics will help you understand this, that only 0.1% of the cyber security attacks were done using a zero-day vulnerability. What does a zero-day vulnerability mean is something which people have not known yet. They don't know the recourse for that or a response to that. So 99.9% of the attacks have been done using conventional methods and known vulnerabilities, ransomware or attack of WannaCry as an example. So this question is less of sophistication of security system and more of a habit and a culture, which we all talked about over here. And we have seen surveys in UK where 50% of people don't check whether a website is HTTPS or HTTP before making an online payment. So we see all that. From an IT industry perspective, how we are preparing for this is, we look at it as an immune system model, where the security has to be at the core of your system. You can't make it as an add-on. And that's how I would like every organization to look at it. Thank you.
I totally agree with you. Security is an ongoing process, ongoing habit. Mr. Atul, you represent KPMG. I understand that KPMG cybersecurity department has main mission to give advisory to develop and standardize cyber processes. Now, considering the importance and the present situation, I feel this is a big task. There is a big gap between what needs to be done and what is the present status. Now, what do you think? Is government present facilities, initiatives which are equipped to do are good enough, or you think the private and other academic institutions should also get involved in that?
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Sodi, for that question. It's a journey. That's how cyber has become. It's not a destination which we will reach. It's a constant journey on which we are, and government is walking on that journey along with all the stakeholders, which includes institutes, corporates, citizens, and all of us have to be working together so that we reach some level of maturity in that journey. Government has done its part a lot by bringing in various amendments to the acts which are already available, and which also showcases that there is a constant feedback mechanism which is working because the environment is changing at such a fast pace. Despite that, we heard in the previous session saying that ransomware is not classified as a cyber crime in an IT act, and possibly there are further more changes which may be required upon, and everyone is cognizant of it. But to say it's a responsibility only of government to do it would be really unfair. Government gets a lot of input from each of these stakeholders, and all of us in our own space can contribute that much more for the country to move forward in the era of digital India where we really want it to be. So possibly a long answer to the short question, but the answer really meant is it cannot be done only by government. If that's what we look upon, we have to give the due inputs to the government and work very, very closely with the government so that we can make sure we move forward. And the last point, which I think I also talked upon while I was talking, is it's not just the government, but it's the entire ecosystem. That's where we were talking of law enforcing agencies and the justice system which is around the country, to make sure that we provide confidence to external stakeholders or investors into the country, saying that to end we have a comprehensive framework which is being done.
Now, I would like to know the government side of opinion on this same question.
Friends, the various options that you have today to take on. Cyber forensics is in big demand suddenly. We really need a lot of cyber forensics. Cryptography is another area where we really need a lot of cryptonologists. We really need youngsters joining us. So I had been talking to your Vice Chancellor, and I was requesting that you all, within amongst yourselves, do the hackathons and the appathons, such that we are able to get some of you to contribute in national security at a very near stage from today. Similarly, there are other such options where we need youngsters like you to today identify that these are the areas that when you take on during your education would help you not just get a good position, but also contribute to the national security. There are lists that I can put out. There are events that we have been putting up. Kindly visit our sites, kindly visit such exhibitions and such competitions where they held. Please participate in them. It is very important that you come on. In terms of what the government is doing, I would like to say that we are not only looking at the policy and regulations for how you use, how the various service providers, how the telecom providers include an inherent security in your mobile phone, or talk about putting liabilities on the intermediaries, the telecom service providers, for ensuring that your data which travels from one point to the next is secure. We are all listening to the new term blockchain technology. We heard Bitcoin, and there are several such coins which are virtual coins which would come into play in the very near future. But do you quickly adopt it because it's there? Or there are issues that you need to first understand before investing money in the virtual fund. There are so many such issues which you essentially need to look into, even though you do not want to go into the realm of cybersecurity, or even when you use social media, or when you wear these devices which is sharing your personal information, your health information, which becomes a revenue earning model for the company which is selling you these services. Kindly become aware of how your information suddenly is a lot of money for people who are collecting this information and sharing it across to various service providers. Thank you.
So students, there is a lot of career opportunity in this domain. Very good point for all of you. Mr. Ranveer, you are heading Digitally India. Previously you worked with Verizon also. In the various parts of the world you have a global experience. I would like to know from you, what should be the approach, strategies and initiatives in any industry on the cyber security?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sodhi. And so, I'd like to address your question on the approaches and issues in the context of digital lockers, which is what my company does. I don't know if there will be time permitting at the end of the session where there will be maybe a little bit more discussion on digilockers. But, just to give the audience a little context of what digital lockers are and why they're important and why information in these lockers needs to be safeguarded. I think we're all very familiar with the physical locker concept, and this is maybe more relevant to the audience maybe in their parents' generation, where your valuable physical assets were stored in a bank locker or typically a bank locker, and these were considered to be safe from theft and other issues. Now, and including in those lockers, people also may have put their birth certificates or saving certificates, etc., because they needed to be shown later at different places. What is happening, as Tulika mentioned, and this conference is all about, is digitization of information. What is happening is a lot of the records that we as citizens own, whether they're our driver's licenses, our university degrees, our birth certificates, etc. There's a big push at the Government of India level from the very top to issue these in digital form. And the key reason for that, for the government, if I may speak on their behalf, is to create transparency in the system and to make a corruption-free society. Because the moment someone is involved in handing you a document, there are chances of there being friction in the system. So I really applaud the Ministry of IT has taken a huge lead in this by rolling out several initiatives. The one in particular talking about the locker system, which would be a place where you can do two things. One is you can scan and upload your own documents, and they're protected and safe there. And then, as I mentioned, government to citizen services, those documents will also be issued to you, connected to your Aadhaar card, and appear seamlessly in these lockers. So with all this treasure trove of information in one location, obviously it becomes crucial to protect this infrastructure and to safeguard it. Going back to the analogy of the physical lockers, the advantage was these were distributed across the country in different lockers, so one attack only meant damage in one place. But now that you've got all this information in one locker, hosted perhaps in a central location, that increases the chances of or an invitation to attack. Tulika just mentioned the blockchain architecture, which is coming up as a way of distributing this back again into different nodes, and perhaps helping with safeguarding that information more and making it a more robust platform for the future. That's what I'd say.
Thank you, Ranveer. Now I will cut short and ask all my panelists to just give 2 advices and suggestions to remain ahead of the game. So, Kanata, what is your 2 advices and suggestions to remain ahead of the game?
So now, last parting thoughts. Don't be afraid of the internet. Don't be afraid of the cyberspace. Be aware. And that's all I can say. If you're aware, you will do well. Thank you.
Yeah, so specifically on the locker system, I would urge you all to go to digilocker.gov.in. Please download this app. It's a mobile app. You can scan and upload your documents. To Amity University, please ask your university administrators to start issuing you your mark sheets and degrees and transcripts in digital form. I think change needs to happen at this level so that it can be percolated to the rest of the country.
Thank you, Dr. Sori. One, start with your smartphone, start practicing security and educate your parents as well. They are more online than we are these days. Second, security is a great career option, zero unemployment rate, good pay. Come and join this industry.
Mr. Atul, last two words from you.
I think everything is being said. I may repeat, be aware, be responsible, and be the change agent, because we need this youth to be the change agent to make sure that we have a cyber secure environment. Everyone can feel safe in that environment. Thank you so much.
So dear students, be cyber aware and be safe. Thank you so much. Thank you all panelists.